Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chef Val Live. It is March 10th, 2024, which means it's the last day that you can purchase the bundle. And so I have a special guest here, and we're going to be talking with him in just a second. But the bundle is a huge collection. It's a digital collection of cookbooks, cooking class courses, nutritional courses, ebooks. It's over $8,000 worth of merchandise, and it's only $49. And you only have until midnight Pacific time to purchase that bundle. Today is the last day. This is your last opportunity. This huge collection of nutritional information to help you become healthy. All of these people that have come together, we're never going to be together like this again. This is such a unique bundle. Okay, so you have until midnight Pacific time. I'm on Eastern time, so actually 3 a.m., but you have to get it today. All right, so there's a bunch of us that came together, wonderful people, and Chef James Sant is one of those wonderful people, and he has contributed to the bundle, Vibrant Vegan for Every Season. So this is one of the most unique things, I think, in the bundle. It's actually an upcoming cooking class, and it's like 8 classes that you will be attending coming up because he cooks for the season, which is near and dear to my heart. And he's going to be creating the recipes, and you're going to be attending his cooking class. And I just think that's wonderful and unique. So welcome, James. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell it? Also, I think you're in California, right?
I am in California, yes. I'm here in between Fort Bragg and Mendocino, a little town called Casper. We're right above the Pacific. You can walk right down to the ocean out my back door here. And on your way, pick fresh huckleberries, do some mushroom hunting. And when you get down to the coast, you can harvest some seaweed. This is a wonderful place to live. I get to live in touch with nature and use all of those kind of things back here in the kitchen. I teach forest to table, ocean to table, and farm to table. By forest to table, of course, I mean sea vegetables, not animals that I'm eating out of the ocean. But it's a wonderful, beautiful place to run my academy from. And my Vibrant Vegan for Every Season, you will be seeing that come to play, not only with foraged items out of the area I live in, but what is fresh and in season, something both you and I know about, having training in macrobiotics. You should be eating what's seasonal for optimal nutrition at any given time of the year. So this will be seasonal recipes, 2 in the spring, 2 in the summer, 2 in the fall, and 2 in the winter. Live classes via Zoom. Zoom only fits 100 in, so the first 100 that tap in will see the live thing, but it will immediately be posted right to the website. So everyone worldwide, because I have 3,000 students from all around the world in different time zones. So not everyone can tap in, to the live, but it's immediately posted anyway. Everyone gets a chance to watch it as many times as they want on the website, in the class. Oh, it's starting to rain now. We're going to see some rain. You're going to experience.
It's raining. You wanted to go outside and pick aloe.
That's okay. I'm still going to do it. We'll cover a few other things. There's showers coming and going today. It's just one of those days in Mendocino. And it's been a very stormy winter, which is great. We need to bring back those aquifers and all of that water. So we are not complaining about the rain at all in California, nor should anyone be anywhere on the earth, because there's been so much drought going on. Praise the rain. It is keeping everything green, everything fresh. So even if I have to walk out in the rain, I will do so to get the aloe and talk about what we are doing today. I love what your contribution is to the bundle as well. And I was checking that out in the course you had about comfrey and aloe. Not only are we in this bundle talking about incredible ways to do a whole food plant-based diet and a raw vegan diet and the best of both, which is actually what my academy infuses together, but the healing aspects also. There's nutritionists, doctors, people like Chef Val that have incredible contributions in there where you can take a deeper dive. And I love the course she has in there that goes into really everything about the healing properties of these two vital things that you can have as a part of your healing cabinet and knowledge in your house. She goes into the deep history of them, all the way to the first written accounts of them in history and how to use them. And I even learned something, and getting access to the bundle, as all of those of us that have the bundle and are contributing to it because we're out there promoting it, got an early peek into all these classes. And I immediately saw this one and went in and watched it and thought, wow, that is really cool. I learned something. And I thought I knew everything about aloe. I have a healing story with aloe myself. And so but it taught me something about how to make some aloe water in a safe, healthy way that I can use internally, because it's not as easy as you might think. And we're going to
Exactly.
do that. So I love it. I love that. I love how it fits into the broad spectrum of how incredible this package is. Everyone that's watching, click our links, whether it's on my Facebook, Instagram, when I do get this posted up to there, on hers, click the link. It doesn't mean you have to buy immediately. Just go in and look. You'll
Yeah.
see, scroll through, look at the many, 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 many different contributors that you're going to see in this bundle. I mean, look,
Yeah.
I'm scrolling, I'm scrolling, I'm scrolling, I'm
Yes.
scrolling. Yeah, I'm telling you, it might take you a little while to look through this, but then you'll be left with, wow, how can I not spend $49
Oh, I know.
to change my life in 2024? I'm telling you, this is so powerful. And this live is a perfect example where it's not just food. Yes, those of you that are tapping into my channels and watching me always see me doing whole food, plant-based, or raw vegan recipes, but there's more than that. It's the bigger, full functional picture of wellness. This is a great example. Val is a great example of what you can get in this bundle.
Oh my God, you just did a commercial for me. Thank you so much.
That's
So
great.
I've been doing I've been doing as many as I can, but you're the first person who has known about Comfrey. Everybody else has asked me about it. So I think
Yep,
that's awesome that you know about it. And you also are into wild harvesting.
you
And
bet.
there's two bonuses in that class also, where one of them is I go out in my backyard and I pick wild violets and I pick dead nettles, and they grow in my backyard, and I bring them in,
Yeah.
wash them, show you how to dry them, and then I talk about the health benefits. And then
Okay.
the other class is wild violet flower raspberry sugar-free jam.
Okay.
So I love my wild violets. I pick those every spring.
Yeah.
So
A lot of nettles as well.
do you have
Yeah.
nettles growing there too?
Oh, yeah. And they're just popping along the stream right through the property here. And so I just did, for a dinner party that we had here the other night, a sprouted mung bean nettle soup.
Okay, so I have never used nettle in cooking. I always dry it and I make medicinal teas with it and things like that because of the flavor. What flavor do you think nettles has? Describe
It,
it.
it is just a wonderful natural green. It has a specific flavor to it. And a lot of people are afraid to cook
Yeah.
with it, because if you've ever been stung by nettles when you're out taking a hike, or you've gotten them into your hands or any part of your body, it's like, whoa, and you can't even see them. It feels like 1,000 slivers are in your hand and you cannot pluck them out. It's like a very scary thing. But it's also one of the most powerful medicinal things
Yeah.
you can use. Women that are lactating during pregnancy, to keep the milk flowing as a new mother. Have one right on the property here that's going to try and do a home birth. I did home births with my children. I love everything about parenting and everything that can help out. Nettles is a real important part in that. It helps with menstrual cramps. It helps with so many different things. Nettles is just a power food. And yes, it's great to dry and make teas out of. In the heating process of it, those little tiny micro spines that are on it melt away. They're gone.
Yeah.
So don't be worried to cook with it. It is beautiful, whether you have dried it and are putting in dried or you're taking it fresh. But if you're going to go and harvest it, know that you're going to want to have leather gloves. Look for welder's gloves. They go all the way up to your elbows. And then you're going to take only the top, just tender little leaves right off the top of the plant. Those are the best. They're not all woody and bigger like the other leaves, and it actually stimulates the plant to become fuller, and you're not hurting it out in nature at all. Don't go and cut a whole plant out. That's not helping anything. Just trimming, pruning right off the top of the nettles, and you can easily fill a big basket of them. Come home, keep those gloves on the entire way through. And I like to fill my Excalibur dehydrator with them and dehydrate a bunch and have them available. And I'm just using up the ones from last season that I've had dried in the pantry that I make tea with, put in soups, put in smoothies. I did a smoothie from someone's book in the bundle that was a great nettles smoothie that was awesome. A green smoothie with avocado and nettles and cucumber and really healing smoothie, those kind of things you can do with it. But when you put it fresh into a soup, it's wonderful. It kind of has this nutty green flavor in the background. And with sprouted mung beans, it makes a spectacular soup. Use any kind of recipe you had for, think lentil soup.
Yes.
You have that mirepoix together, the onions, the carrots, the celery as a base. You're going to, of course, saute that in broth. I just finished sieving out my zone broth here. I cook with broth. I don't cook with oil. I can make this a super soup by stepping away from fractionated oils and learn to saute with broth.
Absolutely.
Just create your main recipe for what you would think of as a lentil soup, but use sprouted, always activate the life force energy in anything, mung beans. And mung beans, we all know, sprout really easily. You can sprout and grow them all the way into mung bean sprouts, like you would use in a stir fry or Asian food. But if you just get those tails just barely popping out and then cook them in your Instant Pot or just on the stove, and then bring everything together in this wonderful nettle sprouted mung bean soup, I'm telling you, there was 8 people around the table the other night, and they're all going, wow, this is incredible. And they were eating stinging nettles, but super powerful, super delicious. Love bringing all those concepts of how to forage. And by the way, nettles are world round. They did come out of Northern Europe, but they spread as we all went out and conquered the world.
Yes.
Wherever you're from in Europe, you are from a base company country that basically took over the world. Nettles spread with them. People brought them as we conquered different areas, and so they've been planted pretty much everywhere. I don't know anywhere you can live where nettles are not going to be found. Look up your local foraging groups and check them out. It's a really fun thing to do.
Yeah. So, now, interesting. I have growing in my backyard what's called dead nettles. So there's no stinging part of it. Wow. And so, yeah, so what you're talking about, it's in the same plant category, but yours stings, and I don't have to worry about that.
That's nice.
That's kind of nice. Yeah. Yeah. And so where should we go from here? Do you want to go history? You want to talk your history?
Grab some, the rain has...
Oh, you want to go the aloe? Yeah, go grab some aloe. Yep.
A little bit here. So let's go out and get some aloe vera out of my garden here.
Awesome.
And it's a little windy and rainy out here, but we will weather the storm, and you'll see the beautiful gardens that I have out here, outside of my kitchen. And hopefully the internet will keep up with us here. You can see all my winter greens here. We've got kale, we've got collards, broccoli, all kinds of stuff going on, the stuff that grows in the winter. And right around here, we have aloe vera. And so let's snip off some of that. And we're off and running. Back to the kitchen here. And hopefully that stayed live.
Wait. Pan the garden again. That garden was amazing.
Here, I'm in the kitchen.
Oh my, geez, look at that.
And by the way, all of those flowering tops on the dino kale and the other brassicas and different things are edible and delicious. Those flowers are amazing and really fun to add to your salads. I love doing that as well. Okay,
that was awesome. Seeing your garden was awesome.
Yeah. So I have some aloe here. Most of the time people don't know. I mean, I do know that, I think about the healing journey I have. The most amazing time in my life where this saved my butt was when I was in Hawaii, and I was there with my sister and her children, and we rented some scooters, And we're going along, putting around, which is really fun to do around the islands. I really recommend it. But of course, I didn't have full body leather on or anything. And some, well, I don't. So a young blonde, and I'm a blonde, so but this blonde woman, this young hottie, pulls out in a convertible right in front of me. I mean, like right in front of me. I was going to like slam under her car, so I slid down to the side, but I tore up my arm. It became hamburger on the pavement in Hawaii. And here I had 10 days left of a vacation. And I'm looking down at my arm going, darn, because I like to live in the ocean when I'm in Hawaii. I like to go diving and snorkeling and seeing all the beauty of Hawaii. But the one thing I did know is there was plenty of aloe everywhere in the place we were staying in the Airbnb. And so I immediately cut off aloe and just slathered right on the wound. And it was amazing what it did.
Yes.
In healing it and coating it and sealing it. And it actually was even able to go into the ocean, believe it or not.
What about your pain level? How did the aloe help the pain level?
It totally helped. Absolutely. It seemed everything about it made me worship it even more. And my nephews and my sister will tell you, it didn't stop me. I put the snorkeling mask on and dove down in, saw the turtles, saw the wonderful things that I love. I just like to live in the ocean. At first I thought, ooh, is that going to be good for it? But I actually think maybe even the ocean helped heal it faster. Who knows? But I always had a coating of aloe on there before I went in the ocean, which may have helped to keep, whatever, it worked. And
now, did you go to a hospital at all, or did you just use aloe?
I didn't. And that's just me. I have
me too.
I have an intuition about when to go or not to a hospital. It was surface. It wasn't like down to the muscle or something, but it was good scraping of my arm to the point where I needed to have something to protect it and heal it faster. And it really did work. So I really love that. And then I have used it internally to drink as well. And I think it can be very powerful whenever you have something going on internally in your stomach, whether it's due to stress or anything. And I didn't know, because I would go and buy the organic aloe gel that you can drink. And that can be a really great way to use it internally. Until I looked at your course, I didn't realize what you need to do. And what you point out is that when you've cut it fresh off, you need to put it in water and let it soak in that water for how long?
I believe it was 30 minutes.
Okay. And you'll see the water will turn yellow, and it's pulling down and sucking out this part that is less digestible in aloe. And that's a game changer for me, because I've only used it topically. I didn't know how to take it out of the garden and make it.
Yeah, but don't quote me on that. I have to look at my notes how long you're supposed to soak it. I have to look at my notes.
Yeah, whatever the timing was on that in the class, it may have been a few hours, but the water did turn very yellow after she had soaked it. And once that is out of there, then you take this out, rinse it off, and get a new jar, cut this up into pieces, and then infuse it into the water. And it makes this wonderful aloe water that isn't yellow and is far more medicinal for internal usage. That was a game changer for me. I didn't really realize how to do that process. Those are the kind of tips and tricks I love in this bundle. So anything that is in the full spectrum of healing, I'm all for it.
It was 30 minutes. I grabbed my paper to make, and it was 30 minutes. So good.
Okay, awesome. And then I also infused this morning, which was a part of that same class, or not this morning, but just a few minutes ago, some comfrey here, making some tea, and all of the wonderful ways you can use comfrey is amazing as well. Whether it's in a compress that you're putting onto a wound, or drinking it internally. And even what you have in your little tea ball, you can take out if you have a cut or whatever, and you were drinking it internally and making a compress to put on a cut or anything, much in the same way we were talking about aloe. Comfrey is just an amazing tea. I actually love the flavor of it.
Oh, I love the flavor of comfrey, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a nutty green I fully enjoy it. I don't need to put anything in it. I just enjoy it the way it is as a tea. Another great healing thing, and a lot of people don't know about comfrey.
Yeah,
And I buy it bulk. I get
I
it
do
from
too.
Frontier Herbs is who I get those kind of things from in bulk containers, those kind of foil packs. I think you had the same source.
I have like big bags of the comfrey. Yes.
Yeah, and I've used them for years in the Culinary Institute everywhere as a great supplier for certain organic things. I don't buy their 1 pound bags of dried, by the way, just as a side note, of like oregano, thyme, all that kind of stuff, because the truth is, neither you nor I am going to use a 1 pound bag of oregano, thyme, anything like that within a year. And buy your fresh herbs for cooking in smaller quantities because
Yes.
they go stale. And you don't want a Costco sized bag of herbs unless you're running a catering operation like I do. Uh, and certain ones you will burn through within a month or two. I'm not an advocate of buying 1 pound bags of dried herbs. Buy them in smaller quantities, use them fresh. It'll make your food more alive. And of course, always use fresh herbs as well. But teach people the importance of bringing many times fresh and dried things together to create layers of flavor. But don't oversupply on those dry herbs. Just a side
Yes.
note.
And
But in something like comfrey, it's not as much a problem. And I
no,
do like to have a big bulk bag of it
I
around.
was using comfrey for my dad's knees, and so he was using large quantities of it and making a poultice. So
Yes.
I don't have to worry. And then this Chef James keeps talking about my course, which thank you, thank you, thank you. But just so people who know, the name of the course is Healing with Food. It's
Yeah.
compresses, poultices, teas, and more. And so you can look for that. It's 3 cooking classes, but the nutritional, or excuse me, it's nutritional, but the stuff he's talking about, like the history and everything, I have that in an ebook too. So you can look at that. And
Awesome.
my story of comfrey is I busted open my chin about 10 years ago. I fell, and people were like, "Go, you have to go to the hospital," kind of like Chef James had with his arm. And I'm like, I'm not going to the hospital. Now, I made sure it was completely clean. First of all, you got to make sure that cut is clean. But I used comfrey, on it. And it took a while to heal. It's not like it happens overnight. I have no scar on my chin at all. But
Nice.
had I gone to the hospital to get stitches, I would have had a permanent scar. And
Yeah.
the comfrey just healed it up. It was great.
Yeah. That's great. I love, love, love these kind of tips. And I love making compresses and doing things where you could run to the emergency room, but then if it's not, a huge wound where it's like super deep, there are many things you can do
Yeah.
to take care of it on your own and bandage it up on your own and take care of yourself
Yeah.
and save yourself a lot of money and hassle. And I think a lot of times expedite the healing process because
Yes.
of your knowledge
Yes.
in these wonderful herbs and compresses and things that you may have in your garden. You'd be surprised how many things can and will work. I have a great friend in Bend, Oregon, the herbal goddess. Holly Hutton.
Herbal goddess. I love that
Yeah,
name.
yeah, look her up. Or if you put in herbal goddess Bend, Oregon, it'll pop up. Holly is a wealth of knowledge in any of this kind of stuff.
Wait a
Uh,
minute. Wait a minute. Herbal goddess, and her name is Holly.
Holly Hutton,
Is
yes.
that like fortuitous or what?
Yeah, and she's great. She's went over and studied in China, all over the place. She's amazing at teaching how to make tinctures, compresses, anything you would want in the herbal realm. Amazing.
So
Yeah,
the
another
so
great.
the when you put the actual plant on something, it's called a poultice. When you make a tea out of it and then you soak a towel in it, it's called a compress.
Good point.
So I
Yes.
do that. I do that in the ginger class. I talk about the ginger compress because sometimes with ginger you want to cover your whole back or something. So a big hot towel would work a little better. Let's
That's good.
let's let's talk about your history because I'm so fascinated. You said you were in the macrobiotic community back in the 80s. Now I didn't get into it until like the late 90s. So what was your experience there? What's your history?
I was up in Ballard, Seattle, where we had a home birth with my daughter, or in a birthing center, our first one. The second one we did at home once we moved to Bend, Oregon. But we were in Ballard, and the Puget Sound Consumer Co-op, the PPC, up in Seattle is so great. And they had created a new demonstration classroom facility kind of thing there. And one of the first things they did was the Cucci Institute came in and did a macrobiotic training. And I loved it so much, fell head over heels. My wife and I were just out of college from Willamette University. And, we were vegetarian, but we had eaten a ton of pizza and all the kind of things you would do when you're studying and doing, college life. And I just felt like we needed a reboot to just detoxify and become healthy. And macrobiotics was new on the scene to us at that time and to many people. And really everything about the yin and yang balancing of different things and the concept of eating what is local to your place, wherever you're at in the world, and the power that that has at any given time of the year, that really resonated with me. And understanding different foods that are like nightshades and not nightshades, and the yin qualities and the yang qualities of things, and bringing them together to create more balanced meals has stayed as a core principle with me throughout everything that I have done for years. And I was strictly for 2 or 3 years, I can't remember exactly how long we did the macrobiotics full on. I think that it may have been our pregnancy with Hannah, when Denise was pregnant there, that we kind of fell away. But all the principles stayed with us. But you know how it is when you're pregnant; you have to just eat what you can eat, and and uh, and you have more concerns about bringing in and including everything. Not that macrobiotics didn't, but there are certain things in there that didn't totally stick with me forever because of I can't have a restriction on nightshades completely. I love bell peppers. I love eggplant. I love some of the things that if you were being completely macrobiotic, you would stay away from. I found healthy ways to bring those back in and become a more full spectrum vegetarian at that time. Years later, I've become more vegan, but the core principles of macrobiotics, of eating that seasonal, local, balancing everything out, thinking about how it fits your dosha even of your body, has stayed with me through all of my development as a chef and an instructor and director at a culinary institute. So you'll find infusions of that philosophy still to this day.
Yeah, so we talked about nightshades yesterday, I think, when I was on with Nan. Now, I do not use nightshades in my cooking because I have a family history of arthritis. And my journey started in my early 20s, and I was already experiencing some joint pains in my knees. And I have no joint pains whatsoever. So it just works for me
And you
not
have
to
to
eat
listen
them.
to your body. I absolutely agree with you on that. And by the way, anyone that does have that
Yeah.
propensity to arthritis, nightshades can be dangerous, and you need to know the effect of that.
But there are, and like Nan and I were talking, there are some people, even macrobiotic people, who eat tomatoes and they have no problem. And I say to them, I'm not a scientist. I can't explain it, but you got to listen to your body and you got to do. And I think that's what macrobiotics is, but people don't understand that. Listen to your body and do what's right for your body, but understand the energy of the yin and the yang so you can keep it balanced, right? And that's what people don't understand. It's like taking control of your health. But that's what the vegan whole foods world is all about too, taking control of your health and realizing what you put in your mouth makes a huge difference in your health. And you have to be observing what's going on, observing how your body feels, and listening to your body for sure. And I'll tell you, I don't like the taste of peppers, like green, red, or whatever. So if I eat a chili, where somebody put peppers in it, and I get it that some people like it, some people don't, I will immediately go, oh, that just doesn't taste good. But everybody's different. So some people like the taste, some people don't. Like I was talking with Kathy Hester and Cheryl. They're such sweethearts. I love them. And I was talking all about turmeric, because turmeric is also in my healing with foods. And it's always brought up the point, well, if you're going to use turmeric, you got to have black pepper, right? I'm like,
or pepper, capsaicin kind of.
I can't eat black pepper. I can't eat capsaicin. It is too spicy for me. It's too hot. And Cheryl went, me too. I have been using turmeric for 8-9 years, the organic fresh turmeric, which I adore. I get all the healing benefits from it, and I've never eaten pepper with it. So it will scientifically enhance it because
Yep.
that's what they show. But do you have to do it? No,
Well, it's
you
the point
don't.
is that it activates more of it if you
More
add
of it, right? But
pepper
you,
or
but
capsaicin in there, the active ingredient in hot peppers. But it's not that it isn't healing to just have
right,
turmeric. You
exactly,
add turmeric to your anything, and it is going to be healing. But it just takes it up a notch if you add in the black pepper or white pepper, any kind of pepper, even if it's just a pinch, it activates it more. Not enough to where it could irritate you, so you could try even just doing just a pinch, but it just activates it a little bit more. But regardless, it is an anti-inflammatory
absolutely.
superfood, and you still can include it without that. It's just that if you want to supercharge it, put in that pepper. So it works either way. And listen, your
Absolutely. Yeah.
body is the number one thing, and know your level
Mhm.
of whether you can handle having peppers in there or black pepper or anything like that.
Absolutely.
No matter
Yeah,
what.
and I'm sure you have this with your when you teach cooking classes and everything.
Oh yeah.
Everybody has a different flavor profile, and the other day I was teaching how to make a dish that had marjoram in it, and this one of my students she spoke up and she said, "Oh, I can't stand the taste of marjoram." And I went, "Okay, leave it out of the recipe. Go ahead and make
Or
it."
change it
And
up.
just,
You
yeah,
know,
whatever,
some other similar herb, dried basil or
Mhm.
oregano or something. Try switching it up.
Yeah,
And always have fun. A recipe becomes your own the minute it's in your hands, and you go to town.
absolutely.
And it's what you had on hand and the way you want to dance with it. Sometimes it might be not as great as the original one. Sometimes it might be better. And you might want to reach out to that chef and say, hey, I tried this and it's spectacular. We
Yeah.
love feedback like that. And there's never an end place for a recipe. It's an ongoing journey. Even for me, when people say, why don't you have cookbooks out there? You've been doing this so long. And my original, and it was the truth, response to that is my recipes are never finished. Even in my academy, if I
Yeah.
pull up one of my own recipes to redo it with my students, I already have changed, made 3 or 4 changes to it, even one that's in the curriculum. And it's
Yep.
not that the original one wasn't as good. It's just that I'm always coming up with new, incredible ways to improve upon a recipe. And that's the way it should be for everyone.
You
No,
said you
very
sound like you sound like me. You sound like me. I do the same thing.
that's
Pull up the old recipe and improve it. And when people say, "Why don't I have more?" I'm in the kitchen cooking all the time. I'm creating new recipes all the time. To write a cookbook, you have to sit at your computer and you got to have time,
yeah.
right?
And I
Yeah.
have plenty of them, and I have cookbooks that are coming up for sure, especially the getting the children involved in the plant-based kitchen.
Yes. Yes,
That's
I
definitely,
I I wrote a children's cookbook, but this was back in
oh, good
2017.
for you.
I
Nice.
did. I taught after school program, and I taught these kids, and so much fun. And these were just regular kids. And I did tell the director when I was talking about doing it, she said, "You do realize I'm vegan and whole foods?" And she goes, "Oh, that's fine. That's fine." I just taught the kids about vegetables and food, and most of the younger kids really didn't even care. But the high schoolers, I asked them, "What do you want me to teach you?" They said pasta primavera.
Great.
And
You can
I
do
went,
that.
okay, great.
Yeah, definitely. I can say that I think the plant-based version is even better. I
Oh,
make such a rich, creamy pasta primavera, and if people didn't know that I'm serving it to, they would completely finish it, and then I tell them that was 100% plant-based, and their jaws drop because
mhm.
it's just as good as any heavy cream kind of thing that they've ever had. So don't let plant-based limit you. You can convert anything. Even the meats in traditional recipes all have great conversion ideas. And if you
Absolutely.
get a hold of someone who's been doing it a long time and can show you the right way, and I'm not saying go out and buy those ultra processed vegan
Mhm.
meat. I consider that vegan junk food. No,
Yes.
I'm not about, I love the movement to move away from people buying meat and alternative things, but I would much rather teach you how to make something incredible, whether you're emulating chicken, pork, beef, any of those, or seafoods. I can show you methods that are not ultra processed, far
Mhm.
tastier, far more savory in all of your vegan cooking. So my personal feeling is stay away from those impossible and beyond
Yes.
reality kind of things that are nothing but more ultra processed food
Yes.
that to me is just as unhealthy as the standard American diet of meat and potatoes and
Yes.
very acidic. And because they're more processed, they're more acidic. They have no
Yes.
alkaline qualities to them for the pH balance that is perfect in optimal health. So
Absolutely.
stay away from those. Come to people like me, these other chefs and these programs that can show you great ways to do great conversions. I just did paella with my students, and we did king oyster mushroom scallops that were simmered in there to put onto the paella, that kind of thing. There's always a way to mix it up, and those were infused with kelp powder and different things that
Mm.
they had the taste of the ocean, just like scallops. And you'd be shocked at how tender and flaky, just like a scallop, a king oyster mushroom can be, almost to the point where you could fool someone.
Yeah.
It's that good. Those that know what a scallop tastes like, if you have some kind
I've
of thing in your
never
mouth,
had one. Never had one.
this and go, wow, that's mind blowing. And that's not a commercial product. That is just quick and easy meal prep that you can learn in plant based conversion from a good program like mine at plantfoodculinary.com. Check that out, and you'll see I can
Okay,
teach
so
all this.
um, you are cooking for the season. So were you when you were in macro, were you introduced to the 5 transformations of energy?
Yes.
Yes, and you use that and you incorporate that with the seasons?
Yes, I do. It's and elements of it are still in my head. I don't
Yes.
get that out every time and say, is this matching all of everything like that? We're all in accumulation.
Yeah, an accumulation of
Cumulative
knowledge.
response
Yes.
today of everything
Yes.
we've been through all of our different experiences. I had that period. I then took Thai cooking classes from a
Oh,
culinary.
nice.
I wanted to take a deep dive in that because I love Thai food. I've been through all the way through gourmet and everything, those raw vegan chef certification
Now,
kind
did
and it
you?
all kind of meshes together and
Yes.
becomes something new. So yeah, yeah.
People,
So
so yeah, so tell me, like, I've been in the food industry since 1985. How long have you been in the food industry?
uh, well, head over heels teaching it and everything since 2010.
Oh, but you were in the food industry
Uh,
before that, weren't you? Or
no,
no?
I was a production potter that had
Oh,
a very large contemporary crafts gallery in Bend, Oregon,
hmm,
and I make all my own pottery. These things that you see me sipping out of. This is one of my soup mugs here,
awesome.
very popular in my gallery. I did functional wares and sculptural architectural clay surrounds, sculpt a surround for a fireplace, you name it. If you could do it in clay, I would do it. So I studied sculpture and painting in college, and that was kind of what but also grew up with a family where would have been fourth, fifth generation baker had I taken on that trade. We had owned bakeries and bakery cafe kind of things for a long time. And so food was always uh, an aspect that I understood and got as a child, leaning over the counter saying, "Dad, how do you?" And watching him bake in this case. And so it's always never been foreign to me. When I went to college as a meat and potatoes, living off the land, off moose, caribou, salmon, all these kind of things from
Wait,
Alaska.
you lived in Alaska. I remember you
Hey,
saying that. That's my dream destination. I haven't been there yet. Now, were you born there? Were you raised there? Or
no, I
how long did
wasn't
you live?
born there, but we fled Salt Lake City. My parents were finished with Mormonism and wanted to kind of get away. And so we went to Alaska. And my father was on one of the first oil rigs as a baker that in the North Slope of Alaska back in the 60s. And we all went to Alaska. So then our adventure in Alaska started when I was very tiny. So, and we lived off the land. We didn't,
Wow.
far healthier than any of the meat people buy in the stores today,
Yes.
but we did eat things that a moose would last a long time when you put that in the freezer. or salmon or geese or ptarmigan, different things like that. And I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that for a long time. My first wife that I met in college was vegetarian, so I made the switch. It was tough, but I made the switch back then to understanding the power of plant foods. And back then, it was pretty simple what we were eating because there wasn't a great knowledge of how to have good food. And I quickly decided in college that if I was going to make this commitment to being vegetarian and stay with Denise, I needed more out of that. So I went out and got Moosewood Cookbook, Laurel's Kitchen,
Yeah.
all of these cookbooks that were just like the concrete pillars of the movement of vegetarianism in the 80s. This is the early 80s. And cooked my way through all of them. Green's Cookbook, the incredible one that came out of San Francisco area, and that restaurant is still there. Cooked my way through all of them, literally making every recipe in them. Love all the Laurel's Kitchen, Molly Katzen, all those kind of people. So I took a deep dive early on into all this stuff. I loved having dinner parties and showing people how incredible what I was learning was and how wonderful and creative and delicious vegetarian at that time cooking could be. Now, I still have all those cookbooks, but those cookbooks do use liberal amounts of heavy cream, of eggs, because it was vegetarian.
Vegetarian, yeah.
But that's what taught me to convert. When I did have my critical injury that I healed from and got my body back, I was testing myself, my pH balance, and saw that I was shocking to myself because I was mostly vegetarian, kind of pescatarian at that time, but I was far more acidic than I would have thought, given that I ate mostly organic, fresh, vegetarian kind, but I didn't understand the power of getting out the dairy and getting out all the meat out of my diet, because dairy is so acidic.
It is.
Is that it puts you in a state of ongoing acidosis if you eat a lot of dairy every day. There's no way around it. You're going to be acidic. And if you're not getting towards that 7.365 pH that our body wants to get to, and you're doing a lot of dairy and you're a high state of acid or acidosis in your body, what's the one place your body can turn to right the ship? And any chemist knows this, taking it from a high acidic state back towards the pH balance, calcium. Calcium will do that. And your body's intuitive. It knows where it wants to be in a pH balanced state. So it's going to turn to your teeth and your bones and rob calcium to right the ship when you're in an ongoing state of acidosis. So it's a complete lie that the milk companies put out there with the little milk mustaches out there, good for the bones. It's absolutely not. It's absolutely the complete lie, and the truth is the absolute opposite of that. If you're drinking milk, you're creating acidosis. Your body is actually degrading your own bones to take the calcium back out to bring you back to a state the body knows you need to be at in pH balance. I got that when I started getting myself back to that zone where I could heal my cartilage, muscles, bones, everything that I needed to do to bring myself completely back, and I did. From something that they told me my injuries would leave me in a limited state for the rest of my life. That was not okay with me. I did completely heal. That started my journey into wanting to become an instructor and teach people.
Yeah, what happened? What was the injury you keep talking about?
There was something that came down on my head and collapsed my C5, 6, 7 vertebrae, and my arm at the same time was in a rope that had me launched towards the ceiling like Superman while the thing was coming down on my head.
God.
Tore my supraspinatus, crushed my rotator cuff. I did have to have a laparoscopic long surgery to rebuild all this, but never did do the neck fusion surgery. That's where I drew the line. I didn't want to have to turn like this the rest of my life. I wanted of my neck. I'm a yogi. I like to do yoga. I'm very outdoors. I love to hike and be out enjoying life. And I thought, no, I'm going to find a healing path to get my neck completely back, open up the nerves. My arms were in excruciating pain because of the pinched nerves. The cartilage had collapsed because of the injury. And so I found a way through traction devices and soft tissue muscle physical therapy But at the same time, in combination with that, you either have to be taking an anti-inflammatory drug because you're going to create swelling when you're stretching that neck back out and doing these exercises. And the swelling is not helping to have the nerves come back together and grow the way they need to in the healing process. So I needed to control that swelling, but I didn't want to use drugs to do it.
Yeah.
Well, the way to do that is to get to that pH zone in your body where you're not inviting the swelling to happen. So alkaline fuel source is what I started understanding was the way to control that. I had control by what I put in my mouth.
Yes.
The very act of waking up and getting out of bed in the morning, we are acidic by function, but alkaline by design. Every time you are moving your body, you're creating acid. If you're an athlete, especially, you're creating a lot of acid in your body. And all the more reason for anyone that is very physically active, you need to have a lot of alkaline fuel source coming in to right the ship of the acidosis that can happen. Imagine creating all that acid from all that exercise and eating a standard American diet, which is very acidic, by the way, very acidic. Not only the acid of meats and dairy and eggs, but all this ultra processed food, dead food from cans, from packages, all this stuff is very acidic. It has had the alkaline properties of it cooked out of it and killed out of it and irradiated out of it. And it's nothing but dead weight in your body. It's not doing you any good. Step into the produce section, get your bulk grains, seeds, all that kind of stuff, sprout them to life, which is what I like to do before you use them. Honor the life force energy and everything. Understand the alkaline fuel source you can put in, right the ship in your pH balance, and it will be a miracle in your own healing journey in life. I love the book, the pH Miracle. People look up that book and read that. You'll understand exactly all the science behind what I'm talking about.
But what you just described and your body healing itself is a miracle.
Yeah, it was. It was such a miracle for me, and I was 50 at the time. I felt like I was 30 by the time I was done. It was so powerful, the energy I had. I can't even begin to tell you, and that I could feel on the yoga mat and just everything that I looked in the mirror one day and said, I'm not going to do what I was doing. I'm going to use the settlement from this accident. It was a work-related accident, and actually go to culinary school. I want to take a whole new path in my life. I have to go teach people the importance of food as medicine. It was such a game changer that I took it on that this is now where I want to go. And that's what I did. And the rest was history. I got immediately upon finishing all those trainings, got hired on as a lead instructor of the chef program at the #1 raw vegan chef certification program in the world, which was Living Light Culinary Institute. Then when Sherry Surya later retired, I eventually became director of that myself. And it was a fantastical journey with students from all over the world, bringing all their traditions from villages, from cities all over the world to the table and training together. And it's not just me teaching, I learned from them. So that's where I get the breadth of knowledge of all of the different ethnic things that I teach, is because I had people from all over the world all year round, 6 days a week in there teaching just demo after demo after demo, and especially in the gourmet classes where we were converting all those traditions they brought from different parts of the world into gourmet plant-based food, healing, and in that case, even raw vegan, which is even more of a challenge. And I incorporate whole food, plant-based, and all of that together in my new academy.
That's awesome. So we have Jill is tuned in. Hello, Jill. Thank you for tuning in. What was the name of that book that Chef James talked about? I'm not sure. Which book are you referring to?
The Miracle. Definitely worth checking out. And there's
who's
an
the
earlier
author
version and a more updated version. I think the earlier one had more of just like baking soda and water kind of thing to right the ship and keep the pH balance in your body, but all the science of why pH balance is so important. I think the second one goes into more, but because by then, after his first one, the culinary world started saying, oh yeah, this does make sense. And you see a lot of low acid or high alkaline kind of diets. There was all kinds of books out there on alkaline diet. You can also look up those books that go into the science of
Yes.
understanding the alkaline fuel source we have coming in and the healing it can create in our own bodies. But that was one of the pillar books, one of the first ones out there that got people to understand this. And it stumbled into, you know how the universe works. When you put out the intention for something, you're going to get what
Yes.
you need. That's how my life is. And that book fell into my hands right when I needed it, when I was in a severe amount of pain and trying to figure out how to turn off the inflammation without the panoply of drugs that they wanted to throw at me from the doctor.
Right.
And I got off all those. Even to sleep, I found someone that could help me make some THC tincture, which was not legal back then, now is, because we know how powerful it is in helping someone sleep if you're going through a healing and in severe pain. Whatever it was, I found the way. You know,
Yes.
I believe in the gifts from Gaia and the gifts from where, what we live in. There's answers to everything. I don't neglect the power and the help of Western medicine when you need it. I needed to have a surgery, and I did get a beautiful, wonderful surgery from a great surgeon in Bend, Oregon, that did rebuild and bring back my shoulder. But I expedited that healing process by controlling the inflammation myself, staying off the drugs, so everything could heal faster, the nerves could come together with the lack of inflammation that was going on because I was controlling the pH in my body. It's a powerful formula that just works. And
Absolutely.
especially in cancer, what you will see in that book is that if you can sustain that 7.365
Yeah.
pH close to it, our body fluctuates in acidity, but you're taking the average in a day. In laboratory studies, they show that cancer cannot, and will not reproduce at that pH level.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But in an acidic level in the body, cancer goes crazy. It just has a free for all in your body. So it's very important for anyone that's dealing with cancer to understand pH balance in addition to whatever else you're doing with your protocol and with your doctor. It will expedite everything, I guarantee you.
Absolutely. Olga is another person who's tuned in. She says book by Robert Young. So is that
Yes.
PH book is Robert
Yes.
Young? Yes.
Absolutely.
Olga, yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So you were going to grind some buckwheat and
Yes.
because I have to say that buckwheat, and you taught me something before we went live. I get the whole grain kasha and I cook it up. And
Yep.
in the wintertime, I eat more of it, but I love the flavor. And
Mm-hmm.
then buckwheat flour is my absolute favorite. And I do use the darker color buckwheat flour. So show us buckwheat, show us
So
buckwheat,
I
show
have
us what you do. Yeah.
This is whole buckwheat. It's blonde. There is also buckwheat that has the skin on the outside. Nothing wrong with that. It just has more fiber. That's the darker buckwheat. You can buy it with the full skin on there. And that's that dark buckwheat that is what we all remember if you've had buckwheat pancakes. But I love buckwheat pancakes myself. But a buckwheat pancake typically that you have has that darker color. It kind of looks almost dark gray when you bake it or
Yes.
cook it in the pan. And that is what we think of as that darker buckwheat. That has the hole on it, the outer shell of the buckwheat. But there's also a process where they soak that off and have just the inside buckwheat groats. But these can be sprouted. They still have the life force in them. So I sprout them. Doesn't take long. They hydrate very quickly. You can 20-minute soak on these in cold water or just room temperature water, then drain the water off, put a damp towel over them, and keep an eye on them because they sprout quickly. Later that day, the tails will pop out, or the next morning if you did it the night before. And right when those tails pop out, get it into the dehydrator. And then you have buckies. I call them buckies once they're sprouted. So I have my unsprouted ones and my sprouted ones. And the buckies, by the way, you can make wonderful cereals with granolas and or just yummy cereals with some fruit extracts and different things in there and a little bit of food coloring, and actually make them colored like raspberry and with a little beet powder and some raspberry extract, things like that are delicious for kids. It's a great alternative to these unhealthy cereals kids eat, and they'll really like them. I love my fruit buckies. It's one of the great ideas you'll see in my book for kids. But you can also roll, if you have the right machine, these into a form of rolled oats, but it's rolled Buckies. And that also makes a great cereal. You could cook these whole as a cereal too, by the way, and or put them in soups, anything like that. Why? What is so great about buckwheat? Buckwheat is one of the power. It's really a seed, not a grain. It's one of those that's kind of between seed
Yes.
and its understanding, but it's a prebiotic. There's probiotics, which are great, and I'll teach you how to make kefirs, kombuchas, krauts, kimchis, pickled or fermented mustards, fermented salsas, all kinds of things that feed that microbiome. The microbiome means great brain health.
Yes.
But the microbiome can be quadrupled, quintupled, just expanded so broadly if you understand prebiotics coming in that feed the probiotics in your gut. Things like sunchokes and how to use those. And there's particular things you have to do with those even to make them palatable and not upset your stomach, but they are so high. The fiber in them is a great thing to feed probiotics and grow the probiotics. Buckwheat's also another powerful one as a prebiotic. So as great as oats are, and they're really good for the heart, I love to involve buckwheat daily, if I can, in some way. And I love sprouted buckwheat granolas. That's what I serve at all of my catering gigs, and people love them just as much as oat-based granolas, and or mix both of them in there when you're doing granolas, or like I just did this in another live the other day. This is my overnight oats, and this has chia, sprouted buckwheat, and sprouted oats in it. So you can buy just normal oats and buckwheat, or you can sprout them like I do, bring them to life, then dehydrate them, and now you could roll them yourself if you have something like this. Let me slide this into the picture here. This is a KitchenAid that has the attachment put on it. You have to order this one from Germany, but it's well worth it. Let me take this cap off there that I have on the top there. And you can make your own oats and or any kind of rolled grain. I would say sprout it first, and then you got to dry it before you put it through here. You can't put them through here wet. But I would you can do rolled barley, you could do rolled wheat, you could do rolled oats, you could do rolled buckwheat, anything you want. Just turn on the machine, feed them in the hopper, and now I have a rolled version of sprouted buckwheats. And it's just a tiny flake, kind of like oats are, but really tiny. And it cooks up really, really fast and easy. It's easy to put into. The nice thing also, I like to point out with buckwheat groats, is that buckwheat groats you can use raw. They don't really need to be cooked, and they are edible. And that's one, especially the sprouted ones. So you can use them in raw bars. In the raw vegan world, remember, and I teach raw vegan and whole food plant-based, if you're making little bliss balls or powered balls or anything like that, there are some grains you wouldn't want to put in there without cooking them. But buckwheat you can put in there raw, especially sprouted. And when you roll it like this, like I just did, even more digestible and easy to use and becomes more of a binder. Buckwheat, if you soak it and add liquid to it, you will notice has a mucilage that comes out of it, much like chickpeas or different things like that. So the slimy kind of thing that happens in it actually becomes a binder, which is great. When you're making little bliss balls or something, it actually helps it bind together even better, and is totally digestible and makes it a superfood, and you're feeding your gut microbiome with a prebiotic. So great news. I love it. And there is a difference between the kasha with the skin on and the buckwheat groats with the skin off. Both are great, but have different flavor profiles in them, in what they will bring to the table. So,
well, yeah, thank you for showing me that. That's awesome. And it's, I want to use the word fresher, but when you can roll it yourself or grind it yourself than what you find in the store. And so the taste is enhanced. And that's,
and the nutritional value, of course, is enhanced.
Yeah.
And oats, actually you can find sprouted oats. Even they have it at Costco now from that wonderful new farm that is creating sprouted oats, finally someone on the market has sprouted oats available, I do recommend that you buy those over just normal rolled oats, because sprouting is always going to activate the life force energy and make something more nutritious. I can do that because I bought a roller attachment. There's also wooden versions. If you look up oat rolling machines or oat hand rolled oats on the internet, you're going to see it is about a $200 investment to get an attachment like this, either for here or the wooden ones that you can, but you can make your own rolled oats. And I like to point out to the raw vegan world, especially when you buy just organic rolled oats and use them in a raw vegan recipe, it's not really a raw vegan recipe, because in their flat rolling machines where they make rolled oats, they're actually heating them up very hot to soften up the oat groats and roll them through the machine. In my case, I'm never doing that.
Okay.
I'm sprouting them, drying them, putting them through here. This doesn't have to have them heated at all, so they truly are sprouted raw oats. So if you're raw vegan, this is the way to do it if you want to have a true raw vegan oat in something that you're creating.
Awesome. Olga asked, how long can we dehydrate them? Overnight?
Yes, yeah. If you put them in overnight, they're going to be perfectly ready the next day. And by the way, if you are putting sprouted oat groats and or buckwheat in the dehydrator, put them on the nonstick sheet that's on top of the little screen tray, but then put another screen on top of them from a other tray, because they will fly around. There's air flowing around in the dehydrator, and you'll come in the morning and many of them will be down in the bottom of the dehydrator, because as they dry, they'll become airborne and start flying around in your dehydrator. So you can avoid the mess when you're dehydrating them after they've been sprouted by putting another screen, sandwich them between, so that it just holds them down as they're drying. And you don't want to go over 120 degrees. Stay under that. So you stay in that zone where we're holding on to the vitamins, phytonutrients, and enzymes that are so great in these sprouted grains. So, and that's with any sprouted grains that you're going to dehydrate and use. I even make, I'm not opposed to making bread. It's not raw vegan. I realize when I'm doing baked bread, like sourdough or something, but I'm going to use an ancient grain like einkorn, the
I
mother.
use einkorn. Love it. Yes.
Yeah, and
Einkorn.
einkorn doesn't have the high gluten levels in it.
Yes.
It was around as the mother grain that they then hybridized and hybridized and
Yes.
hybridized to the point where they had high gluten levels in the grain so that they could create Wonder Bread.
Yes.
With
And it's
dough,
a wonder
the
they
whole
can call
bag.
it bread.
My dad had a little stint where he worked for the bakery in Anchorage, Alaska, that was doing the Wonder Bread stuff. And I remember during that time figuring out,
Oh, you went sideways.
that's weird. I don't know why it did that. That's a very strange thing for it to do midstream. Anyway, there we go. I remember figuring out at that time when my dad would bring home these extra loaves of Wonder Bread and stuff, and we're playing around as kids, that you could literally take a whole loaf of Wonder Bread and squish, don't ask me why we did this, but we did, squish it down into a ball that was just like this little ball in your hand that was this huge loaf of bread. Now that doesn't make sense. How did they do that? They put in dough conditioners, chemicals, all kinds of crap,
Yeah.
and a super high glutinous form of what we thought of
Yes.
wheat, so that they can get the most profit out of the littlest amount of dough. That doesn't work. That's what's wrong with our food system.
Absolutely.
So back to what was the precursor to all of that, these ancient grains like
Yes.
kamut
Yes.
and einkorn, and then sprout them to life, which none of the commercial flours you buy are doing, where you're activating, taking those aminos that within that grain, that dormant grain, and waking them up. It's like you're the rainstorm that comes when you soak grains, that they say, oh, it's time to grow. It's time to become wheat, whatever it is that they want to grow into. You've activated the life force energy, you woke them up. All of those aminos are turning into the proteins that are now bioavailable to your body. Then you dry it. Now grind, and I have another attachment on here that grinds flour, which you can also buy for something like this. Then I'll hand ground my flour, then create a sourdough with it, because fermentation even again takes up a notch the bioavailable benefits you can get from grain. then bake a bread out of it. Not using added yeasts. That's the beauty of sourdough. Pulling the natural yeasts in from the air into that grain after you've put it. I have starters right up there on the shelf. And so if I'm going to do a bread, it's going to be a sourdough, not with added yeasts that would complicate candida and different things like that in certain people's systems. There's always a way to do something with more life force energy involved. And of course, in bread, you could also do manna bread. If you want to do a raw vegan, I love my manna breads as much as baked. And in fact, that's what I would even prefer doing more, which is once you've sprouted that rye, that einkorn, that ancient grain, in its sprouted form, before you've even dehydrated it, while it's still moist, throw it in the Cuisinart, add some dates, add some cinnamon, some raisins right at the end, shape it into a loaf, dehydrate it. You have a raw vegan, wonderful, beautiful Ezekiel or manna bread, which is the original way they made bread. It's even in the Bible,
Yes.
very healthy and not even baked at all at high temperatures. So you've held on to all the nutrition from there. So you can, this isn't for the gluten-free people, I realize that, but a lot of the raw vegan people don't realize, make manna bread. You can do it. If you can handle grains, sprout them to life, make a beautiful manna bread. These kind of things you will learn in my classes.
Yes, and then so the bundle.
Yes.
It's 310 March 10th, and the bundle is only available until 12 midnight Pacific time. That's 3 a.m. Eastern time. And Chef James has his cooking course that you are going to actually take the course after you purchase the bundle. Throughout the year, he's going to have 8 classes you're going to attend. And like he said, if you're not available at the time, you're going to get the recording. So that's what
immediately.
That's what he has in the bundle. There's over $8,000 worth of merchandise. It's only for $49. And there is a really unique cookbook in the bundle that all of us put a recipe in. Now, my recipe is brown rice, aduki beans, asparagus, and sauerkraut.
Wonderful.
I make my own sauerkraut also, which I adore.
Of course.
What is your recipe in the collaborative cookbook?
In the collaborative cookbook, I put in my ceviche, which is a wonderful fresh ceviche, including mango in it. And then it is served up as a taco in a jicama taco shell made on a mandolin and then sprinkled with taco seasoning. So it's a fresh, crispy, wonderful way to have a taco that is totally gluten-free and a great thing for the summertime, especially.
Oh, I love jicama. I've got to look that up. I've got to look at your recipe for the jicama. Absolutely.
Really
So
great.
we're coming to the end where we want to wrap up. So what is your Facebook, Instagram, website? How can people get a hold of you? And
on Facebook, it's just Chef James Sant or James Sant. But I also have a plant food chef on Facebook, and it's Plant Food Chef on Instagram. It's Plant Food Chef on Pinterest, on all of the social media stuff. Look up one word, Plant Food Chef, and you can follow along in all my musings. You can watch videos of my cat that goes mushroom hunting for 5 miles into the woods and helps me find mushrooms, all kinds of fun adventures.
wait, where is this video? Where is this video?
Look it up on my Instagram, Maya the Mushroom Hunter. She's famous for it, on my Facebook as well. And she tags right along. She loves going in the redwoods mushroom hunting. And
I've always had cats. I have 5 right now.
Yeah.
And I always see those videos on social media where the cat goes along with you outside and dot, 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 dot. My cats aren't like that. So you also mentioned redwood forest. Are you like by them?
Oh yeah, we're right in the redwoods here. I'm on the Mendocino coastline. We've got some of the most gorgeous redwoods around, and it's Northern California, So it's epic to go foraging for anything around here, and the cat loves to follow along.
Really, really quick, but what are some of your favorite things to forage for?
Well, right now I black trumpet mushrooms, which I made in the miso soup that I made earlier today.
Oh my God, black trumpet mushrooms.
Yeah, or yesterday, from a cookbook in the bundle. the Asian cookbook in the bundle, and it was fantastic. But I added in my own seaweed, so I put the wakame that I harvested from the coast. So wakame, nori, bladderwrack, all these different kinds of seaweeds I harvest here in the woods. I'm walking along and getting nettles. I'm getting huckleberries, tons of, I mean, gallons. We put 10
Huckleberries.
gallons of huckleberries away in the freezer this year. They're so, uh, in the pygmy forest, just down from the redwoods, the huckleberries have some kind of symbiotic thing with the pygmy forest. This is this clay kind of area where the redwoods only grow have for thousands of years. These mini versions of redwoods, they call it the pygmy forest, but all through it is billions of huckleberries everywhere.
Wow.
You know, so it depends on the season. Every season of the year, there's different things: hedgehog mushrooms, gold chanterelles, black trumpets, you know, boletes. Those are the first out of the hopper in October, which is also known as porcinis. It's just endless the amount of things you can forage here. Very lucky to be in an area that I have that much I can go forage for and be out in nature and bringing it dirt to plate and combining with all of my garden stuff, farmer's market, all that kind of stuff. So it's great.
That's amazing. Just the fact that you can go pick sea vegetables is amazing, but all that other stuff, and then living by the redwood forests, wow.
Yeah, sea vegetables are great, and they're also very healing. By the way, we were talking about comfrey and aloe. Seaweed is just as comforting to the body in a healing mode. I had a incident at a catering gig in Calistoga where I fell because they had uneven steps on this patio area, and a piece of slate rock cut my finger wide open. It opened like a book. It was flapping. I had to go get it sewed up, and I wanted it to heal fast because I was doing a lot of catering in Berkeley at the time, and I was back harvesting seaweed on the coast, and there's this one little nobular kind of kind of like those finger condoms that you put on it when you have a cut in a culinary kitchen. You know, the ones you roll
Yes.
to protect. I was able to slide this cone kind of seaweed on there. And when I was out harvesting, I still had the stitches on. I thought, I'm going to put that on there and see. And boy, did it expedite the healing.
I always,
all the minerals and everything.
yes,
Seaweed.
I always, I couldn't fit everything in my healing with foods, but in the kitchen, being chefs, we accidentally cut ourselves with the knife. Always nori. I go get nori. It stops the bleeding, coagulates the blood, and like you said, all the minerals that help heal it, use it all the time. Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah. So, and I just randomly tried that one, but now I'm sold on it. And I know that one seaweed, if I ever have damaged finger, I'll go find it and stick some on my finger right down here at the coast. Because I'm telling you, seaweed's a great healer as well.
And
vegetables bring iodine, which is so great.
Yes.
In natural sources, especially more bioavailable than the supplements you can take, is to involve seaweed in your diet. Good for the thyroid.
Absolutely. So, any last minute words about the bundle?
Well, I just say, don't miss this. If I could have turned back the clock 15 years ago and something like this came into my hands, I can't even tell you. I'd be off the chart with much more knowledge than I even have now. And I have a pretty immense knowledge base, having instructed and been a director in this for many years. But I can't even imagine how much more exponentially ahead of this I would be if I had something like this bundle. It's so immense in the power of what it has. So for $49, the cost of going out to dinner for one night, change your life in 2024. Look at this bundle and purchase it. And remember, you can give it as a gift. So you can go in, purchase it for yourself, and then go right back in and say, hey, mom needs this. My sister needs this. My great friend needs this that's going through a healing crisis. You can get their email first and then go in and purchase it using their email. They'll get the notification, and boom, they have a great adventure into food as medicine and many of the concepts we've been talking about here and so much more. And so, but you have till 11:59. The clock is ticking. So if you're watching this, check it out before the end of today, because tomorrow, if you went into any of these wonderful things, her classes, my classes, any of these, you could spend over $8,000 to get access to this amount of high-powered knowledge. And you can have it for $49 if you act today. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in either my page, her page, wherever you're watching this, and check it out. You won't regret it. And if you do click it and buy it and it doesn't work out for you, call me, message me on any, because I'll go, I know I won't get any response. I easily can say that because nobody's going to message me and say, oh, that was not a good move, because I know you're going to love this.
Absolutely.
It's that powerful. It's that
Yeah.
powerful.
I just figured it out, and it's approximately 8 hours left for people to buy the bundle. 8 hours. Got 8 hours. That's it. So again, the link to buy the bundle is in this video, on Chef James' video, on all of his social media. $49. That's it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Act now or you will regret it.
Yes. Thank you so much for everybody who watched the video and tuned in, and thank you for your comments. Greatly appreciate that. And thank you, Chef James, for being my special guest. It's been an honor talking to you.
You too. And I'll see everyone in class because I know you're going to buy the bundle.
Yes. All right. Remember, everybody, get in the kitchen.